Hi, everyone.
Hi.
We're
Welcome
live
to the Ellie and Renie show.
to the
We're
Ellie and
live.
Show.
I don't know why we're doing this.
I don't know.
And I'm not even drunk yet. I got my little Christmas hat. You like that? I'm in a festive mood today. Not very gothy today, but I hope everyone will forgive me for not keeping up with the theme today.
How dare you break
I know.
tradition?
Breaking tradition. Just
Something.
heresy, pure heresy.
And I have another doggo here. Hey, get off!
Yeah, Ellie has 2 doggos. That's what we were talking about.
Come here, come on.
Hello,
Come
chat. Thank you for joining me today. Hello, everybody. Hi, Lauren.
Oh my God.
Hello. Hi, John. Hi, Aviator. What's up? Hi, Rule. Oh, look at
Put my
doggo.
headphone out. Hold on.
Oh, jeez. Okay. All right, go get your headphone. Ellie was getting mauled by a dog. So, hello, Snuggie.
Hi.
Hello, Wolfler. Hi, Pablo Diablo, some person. Don't want you people. Yes, sign up for Egg Beater. We have our do I have our projects in the description? Or I don't remember.
I'm sure somebody does.
Yeah. Sign up for Egg Beater. That's Allie's upcoming project, and go back Fiendish too. That's my project on Indiegogo. Frank G, hello, Alex BRB, and Rand Nada.
Come on, Bella.
And did I say hi to Wolfler? I don't remember. Romy, hello, Omar Hernandez, Jimmy Reyes. Yes, fashionably late, as always. I mean, it's a theme. I need to keep up with the theme. I need to make a 20-minute intro like Ethan, just so it'll, I'll actually... So the stream starts technically when I schedule it, but then, I have like a 20-minute buffer because I'm never actually in my seat on time. Yeah, I know. Animal T, hello. Hello, howdy.
She was here, but we thought absence makes the heart grow fonder.
That's true.
So we let you guys suffer for 5 minutes?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yeah,
no.
We did. It's all in our plans. Hi, Matt G. So, let's just jump into it.
Oh, Norin says Egg Beater looks fun. Thank you.
It does look fun.
We're not. I don't usually talk about Egg Beater on this show though, because he doesn't require a lot of world building.
Yeah, the main thing you talk about is your prose book, Rotting Crown. Sorry for the vertigo.
Some person has just shared it. Thank you, some person.
Yeah.
I'm going to switch it from Wattpad though to its own website.
Oh, nice.
Because I was recently looking at some of the trash that's on Wattpad.
Oh, yeah, like the other things that people write.
Yeah, and I was like, I can't even believe that there's so many like BTS fanfics on here.
Oh my god!
And then there's like my freaking brilliant like epic prose next to freaking
brilliant epic prose next to garbage.
Next to poorly written like, mother dropped me off in the jungle. I wander through the jungle. I come to giant castle. In the castle are BTS. They are vampires. Oh no, time to have sex.
Okay, I don't need to hear more of this.
I mean, that's as far as I read.
Yeah,
I was just like, wow.
That was too much. I'm gonna have nightmares now. Yeah. So
I can't compete with BTS, I guess. I hate how Twitter is like, so determined to make me care about them. That's the worst part of BTS, is how much the internet wants me to care.
I like some of their early songs, and then they got it became this weird fandom, gross teenage girl jizzing all over them thing, and it's just I couldn't stand the fandom anymore.
Well, and I like Big Bang, and they're nowhere near as awesome as Big Bang. Freaking
yeah, that's true. Big Bang is actually, and there are a lot of other K-pop bands that actually are pretty good. One that I like Block B, because they're weird fucks, and I like weird fucks. And there are actually some actual bands, like FT Island is an actual band. They play instruments and they're talented. And they don't get nearly the attention as like some bunch of pretty twinks, basically.
And it's not like seven freaking dudes that are just like, oh, we're gonna celebrate Chunku's birthday today. And I'm just like, why is Twitter telling me I have to celebrate Chunku's birthday? I don't even know how to say that if I'm saying it right, but I hate him because every day it's another weirdo's birthday. I'm just like, stop it. I'm not a teenage girl. Why are teenage girls on Twitter? That's weird. Stop it, internet.
Well, the thing is, they're not teenagers. They're like 20-somethings acting like teenagers.
Yeah, but like, don't teenage girls like BTS?
Yeah, but also like some of these women are like 25.
Oh,
that's a lot of the fan base. It's not even like
I don't even know how old that they are. Because they don't age. They're gonna hit 70 years old and suddenly be really old.
Yeah,
but they're gonna be 15 until they're 70.
Yeah, that's how Asians age. What's that called? It's Starbucks. I went to Starbucks today.
Starbucks,
I know.
The enemy.
I had little choice because I needed to drive somewhere and I needed coffee very badly. So deal with it.
Just imagine you never leaving your house for some reason, and I just realized that that's how I imagine you.
I generally don't leave my house, but I did have to leave my house today.
Did you see the awesome book that I found that reminded me of you?
No.
This is world building related, I swear. So
okay. The shirt is backwards.
That's funny. World building is really important, right? Yeah. And even if it's weird, okay? Even if it's a weird world.
How weird is this book that reminds you of me?
It is called, well, there's several of them. Shh! Hey! Stop it. Hold on.
Oh, doggo.
Stop it. The Space Raptor Butt Trilogy.
What?
There's a guy.
Okay, I thought we were here to talk about societal structures, everybody.
We are. But this is important, okay? We don't have to talk about it the whole time. But I wanted to bring it up because this guy, whose name is Chuck Tingle, he nearly exclusively, I shared the thing, writes these books about like doing it with raptors in space and stuff.
Oh.
And it's weird because they're actually like not bad. But it reminded me of you because of the dinosaur part of it.
Oh, dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like dinosaurs.
So if you open it, I'm sharing it.
Oh, okay. What the fuck? What the fuck?
So
why am I watching this? Oh my fucking okay. All right.
So it's just I wanted to make sure you knew it was real. This guy has like dozens. He has dozens of books. He's got like Kidnapped by Billionaire Raptor. Like he had a lot of them. And they're not bad. But so my point is, even though it's totally silly and weird, he has created a society that actually makes sense with his premise. I swear. Like and all of the people who put reviews on it are like, I bought this thinking it would be cringe, but it's actually really good and inventive, and it makes sense why they're talking dinosaurs. And so my point is, basically, even if it's silly, take it seriously and people will be impressed.
It says Butt Trilogy and his name is Chuck tingle.
Yeah. It's totally silly, but like it's weirdly like not bad. And a
All
lot of
right,
it is
all I'm
about
gonna take away
dinosaurs.
is if that can get on Amazon and we need to start putting our shit on Amazon. I should just do that. I was thinking about this. Why don't we put our books on Amazon? I feel like
I can tell you why.
Why?
Because you're not going to make any money.
Oh,
Amazon's
yeah?
going to take all of your money. For the year that I had Wild Man on Amazon, do you want to know how much money I made? I think, and I sold... I didn't sell very many books. I think I only sold 180 books through Amazon exclusively. I had 3 royalty checks, and my biggest royalty check was for $2.27.
Oh.
And I was selling the book for $10 a piece. The book cost about $2 to print. So, and you know, the seller was, or not the seller, the buyer was paying for shipping. So Amazon was getting like $8 basically for every one of my books that I did all the work on. So I think, so what you should do is list your book on Amazon, but not have it sold on Amazon.
That's a good idea.
All my books are listed on Amazon so that, like, if people are searching, they can see, like, oh, Allie has books. And also, if you go through KDP, which is how you publish on Amazon, they give you a free ISBN number.
Oh, okay.
And that's how I got my free ISBN numbers. And they're totally the same as all the other ISBN numbers, but Amazon has like has an agreement with the ISBN place. I forget what they're called.
Okay.
Yeah, where they I don't know how they, like, what the specifics were, but they have an agreement with them so that more independent authors will publish through them, because an ISBN does cost like $50.
Costs more than that.
Well, like bare minimum if you want. Yeah, exactly. So that's why I was like, you know what? I'll just go through KDP and I'll list my book. It automatically gives you right away a free ISBN that you can use that is valid in everything, even if your book is not sold on Amazon.
That's cool. So. Yeah, that's a pretty good approach. I think I want to at least list on Amazon because it adds legitimacy in it. They have a large audience, and it's just advertising, I would say, at the very least.
Well, yeah, if you want to make any money on there, like, because Snuggy's asking how to Sticks Hexenhammer do it, you do have to pay for Amazon ads or Google ads, and then you will make money, but that means that you are still giving them money. You've probably already made more just on your comic than you would with Amazon in like 3 years.
No, but I think with Amazon, I'm not expecting Amazon to be my main distribution channel. It's more to reach a wider audience and just get the book out there and get it in people's hands.
Yeah, that's why I just had it listed, and then in the listing description, I have the link to get the actual book.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, like we had to think of expanding. I think, like, even, you know, we after the crowdfunding, like, try to get books in bookstores or on somewhere like Amazon. I don't know. It's a whole different discussion, but it's just something I've been thinking about a lot recently, and we can have that discussion some other time. But brand building, yeah. Voyager, hello, hi.
That looks like a silly picture of you.
Yeah, there's a lot of those. It's a little disconcerting. There's a lot of people with icons that are just me, but well, anyhow, but it's nice though. Okay, we're here to talk about world building and societal structures. So, why? Let's start with you, Allie. In The Rotting Crown, what is the societal structure of your story?
Stop it.
I know you have a few. You have like one that's like a country or like a city run by a queen, and then you have like surrounding wildlands. But just tell us, how did you organize everything?
So I started out with no, as you do, with no system of organization whatsoever. And it was kind of silly, right? I started out with technically I started out with just a battle scene. But in high school, my creative writing teacher thought that I was talented enough to where he made a separate class that was just for me. And he said, okay, for this class, all you have to do is write a book, like over the semester that you're taking it, and that's going to be what you have to do. And so I chose to take that little snippet that I had of like 3 paragraphs of a battle scene and some characters I developed and start writing that. And I started out kind of silly because it was like, oh, this girl's angry because she has to get married and she doesn't want to. And as I was writing it, I was like, this isn't compelling and it makes no sense because there was no reason for it to happen. Like, she was just mad and everyone was like, you have to, and there's nothing behind it. So I realized, okay, I have to build on this and give reasons why she has to do it. And that means that I have to develop laws and why this society would have those laws. And it kind of spiderwebbed out like that just from this one thing where I was like, okay, there's this girl who doesn't want to get married. And then in this world, there are also powers. So I was like, okay, what kind of world, what kind of society forces, 15-year-old girls to get married to 30-year-old men? I was like, well, it would be a society where possibly they think that doing this will protect a woman. And that's just how they feel about it. Okay, why would they think it would protect her? Well, because this is because women are their own worst enemy. Like, and it just built and built and built upon that. No one will be surprised that from age 16, when I started this and wrote like the first rough draft, that I already was having these internalized misogyny thoughts.
Right. You do seem to have a low opinion of the average woman.
Well, because she's just so average. Stop being so average. If you're above average, then maybe I'll like you, like Renie, who is
that makes sense though.
that way. So yeah, and then as I realized that my world needed to grow, from outside just one village, because I was like, oh man, I need a wizard and I need a queen and stuff. Like, I need all this stuff and it can't fit in this little forest where everything began. I was like, well, not everybody in this land is going to be the same, because it's like you can travel from within the United States and societies are totally different. Like, if you go to California, then it's totally different than, well, it used to be Colorado. Then it's totally different than Tennessee. If you go to Tennessee, it's totally different than New York. Why does my camera keep doing that?
You're blurry. It's okay. We can still hear you.
So, I thought, okay, well, I need a place where people are from, and it all has to make sense. So then it was like, damn, now I have to build an economy. Like, because why is somebody walking along saying, oh, I'm selling things? Like, why do they need to do that? How are they selling it? And it did very organically grow into just from this one idea of this girl's getting married at age 15 and doesn't want to because the guy is 30. It grew out from there. and created a whole order of things. And now it's like in the forest there's a different order than there is in the castle. In the castle there's a different order than there is down on the sea islands. And there's a different order over here. Like it's a lot. It feels like a lot when I talk about it now, but because of how I came up with everything, I feel like I've woven it into the storyline. So as you're reading it, it's not going to just be like, so when girls come of age in this place, this happens, and this is a hierarchy of what leaders happen. It's like, you know all this stuff as you're reading it because an event is occurring that makes you need to know it. Or it's not just a character sitting there and expositioning at you for like me right now. So there are definitely a lot of different ones, but the main one is in this forest, and they function basically like girls are never like allowed to be alone. They have to if they're not married, then they have to take up the residence, I guess, at like the way house, which is sort of like where travelers stay, which is sort of a dangerous profession for them to be in, you know, because they're all alone, and you know it's where all the strangers are. So it's like it gives them incentive to say like, okay, I better get married so that you don't have to end up at the way house where everybody's gonna think that like I sleep with strangers, or I'm in danger from all this stuff. So it's all, the main one is all very misogynistic, which I have to say I enjoy writing. A lot. Too much, maybe, sometimes.
Maybe. It's interesting to explore societies that are so different from our own, though. It's a fun thought exercise, isn't it?
Looking good, Renie, says 200-watt studio. Nice.
Oh, thank you, 200-watt, for $2.
But they are run by, so the overall like overarching of the land of Pearl is ruled by a queen who is self-appointed, and she makes all the major decisions for all of the little city-states, and in return, like, the little city-states are kind of allowed to have their own, you know, cultures and stuff. So like she doesn't go in and say like, well, you have to have a certain amount of, I don't know, mayors or, you know, whatever. She's just like, come to me with your big problems. Everything else, like all the little stuff, you can deal with. Oh, thank you, Omar.
Thank you, 200-watt. 200-watt said Addy too.
So, but the overarching society, which is ruled by the queen, is also kind of now I'm trying to not do spoilers. Kind of tenderly controlled by the queen herself through like little snippets of magic, like little fishing lines of magic that she has like sent out so that she can maintain control, so there's no like dissenting voices, without anyone knowing that she's doing it, just because, you know, she's like, well, it's easier this way. And she's kind of a narcissist, so
How did a society that you said this, like the central, I guess, queendom, the central society is more misogynistic, how did they come to have a queen, or how did they come to accept having a queen?
Magic.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense.
I
Probably
mean,
spoilers.
she does so it's magic. No, not really. I've talked about it before. So it's magic, but she also has the wizard,
Yeah, that's right.
who's like her Frankenstein's monster that she created. And people see him as not just like a magic, user, but he also is her advisor, and he uh he's in charge of like the army. So like he's not just, I'm a wizard, like woo-wee-doo. He has to study and stuff, like, and con- consult with all the leaders and everything. But and this is in the first chapter, so it's not really spoiling anything. The second chapter, there's something, I don't know, whatever. Anyway, it turns out that she sort of has him so that people think, oh, okay, it's good that she has a man who is helping her control things. But it turns out that with magic, she kind of controls him so that he thinks that he's in control more than he actually is.
Interesting. 200 watt for $2. Thank you. Ask Ellie, where can I get your work?
Some people have. Whoa! Oh my god! It went away. Okay. Some people have shared the link. Is there someone else who can share the link again?
Yeah, you have a Rotting Crown on Wattpad, and then also
Yeah, Rotting Crown is on Wattpad, but I'll be putting it on its own website soon. Can someone share the link, please? So I don't have to go and open it.
Yeah. Link masters, please.
And I actually have two Wattpads because I have just the one for Rotting Crown, and then I have one Wattpad that's for all of like the 8 other books that I've got going on. Which oh, hello, Bella. Oh my god, she's laying on my foot. And then I have a whole bunch of other ones that like I don't talk about on here because you have like, because these books are epics that are fantasies. So oh yeah, and the Egg Beater is my comic. There's Rotting Crown. What is the most unique and interesting social structure you've seen in real life, a book, or movie?
You can answer that first. When you think of anything? I have something kind of off the top of my head. Curious to see what you've heard of, though.
So, in college, I did take anthropology, and I thought it was going to be boring, but it turned out to be crazy interesting.
Yes, anthropology is fun.
Yeah, my teacher was trash, but anthropology was really cool and interesting. It just wasn't sold to me very well. We learned a lot of cool stuff in there, but I don't know, unique and interesting. Gosh, I don't know. This is going to sound super basic, but I find the British monarchy super interesting and unique because it's like, what does it do? But still everyone, for the most part, respects it. And they do all of their, what do you call it? Traditions and stuff that they have for 1,000 years. And there's like the really complicated, way that they have of naming everything. And I didn't realize till recently that like how much I don't understand that as an American. I do not understand how they function or have respect for any of that. Like it totally went over my head until I was talking to somebody who was actually from England, and I was like, huh, that's interesting to me, because like it's just not something I think about. And and so when people, not that I'm about to like freaking swear fealty or anything, but it's interesting because a lot of the people who talk about the monarchy have no idea what the fuck they're talking about, which is until you talk to someone from actually England. Yes, thank you, Alex Verb. And then I don't know if this can count as a societal structure, but samurai, the concept of samurai and how that all was done is very cool and interesting. Allie told us where she went to college. I did not go to UC. What do you think I am, some sort of yuppie? I went to community college.
Hi Phil, hi Zay Comics is in the chat.
I have an aunt that works at the University of Colorado, though.
I don't know anything about University.
She's crazy. She's a crazy SJW.
Is UC super SJW?
Yeah, it's in Boulder, Colorado, so yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're basically over there friggin' sucking Marx's dick.
Right. Well, that's most universities now.
Yeah. Your turn. I'm not shutting up. Your turn.
Okay. Let's see. Societal structures. I saw this one documentary on, and I can't remember. It was like a while ago, and I can't remember their name, but it was a group of researchers contacting one of those like nearly uncontacted tribes in the Amazon, and they were like trying to be as non-intrusive as possible. So it's like these people had seen outsiders like, you know, once every generation or something, and it was so it was like very close to their original culture. It was really interesting. And so it was shit like they, you know, literally, you know, straw huts wearing leaves and stuff. And there, I remember, and like hunter-gatherer society in the Amazon, right? And what I mostly remember is like the different marital traditions from different cultures. And theirs was weird because it was, I don't think it was polygamous, but it was this weird thing. And you know, this is super like no in the West, of course, but like their age for marriage is really young, and it wasn't always like younger female to older male. It was like an old woman can marry like a teenage boy. Really weird. But they had like a weird sort of logicalization to it, which I thought didn't really make sense, but because isn't the whole point of marriage to produce children? But I think because they were also like polygamous, so that was strange.
Was it like something about like, oh, they learn how to behave from an older person and then they move on to somebody else or something?
I'm not sure, but I do remember it's like it was seen as, well, they start like their marriages, people were expected to marry young because it was seen as, well, this is a sexual initiation, and the older person was supposed to teach them that at a young age. But it was weird, especially to Westerners. Yeah. So it was, and it went both ways. Yeah, I know. Super taboo. Okay, but also the one that I have a better understanding of, like, and talk more in depth of, is the Mosu culture in China. I don't know how to actually pronounce it in their language because they have their own language. It's a sub-ethnicity within China. In Mandarin, it's Mosu or something. Mosu or Mosuo. So it sounds something like that. They have their own language again. But so they have a weird blend of matrilineal and patriarchal. there's a lot of like the really progressive people that are like, oh my god, it's a matriarchal society. It's not really. It's matrilineal. Their marital system isn't that. So the children belong to the mother's family, and they don't really have marriages. What they, the way their society is structured is there are like these large, huge households. It's sort of like Hakka, Tulo households with where like a huge like it's like huge those big round houses in China, and that's
Mhm.
like that's Hakka. That's a Hakka ethnicity thing, and that's actually my ethnicity. And people always rip it off and put it in the wrong place because they have no understanding of this is this cool building. Let me just put it in a random place in China. Anyways, so but they have like settlements that are matrilineal, and you have like the eldest female, and and then all her descendants, and the women and men both stay with their mother's household, and essentially what is expected is they have walking marriages. So generally they
Is that
will
like
match.
walking pneumonia?
I don't know what that is.
No, never mind.
Okay,
It's just a
walking
less severe
marriages.
kind of pneumonia.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they. So they don't like when a male and female, when a man and woman get married, they don't like cohabit. It's just the man will visit the woman at her place during the night, and like you probably everyone knows that they're together, and maybe he'll come over help out with their household, but he still lives with his mother's clan, and the children belong with the mother's clan, and sort of the male role models are the children's uncles, and the father is more responsible for like his sister's children. And I don't know. So it's matrilineal, but it's also, I think they're like chieftains usually are men still, and like they have this weird way of viewing things where it's like, well, if we're gonna buy a machine and like the hard labor, that's like you have these clearly there's still a division of labor, like like with like farming and machinery, it's like that's guys stuff, and like domestic stuff that's women's stuff, but the children belong to the mother's family. So I thought that was really interesting, and they make it work perfectly fine. So
It is easier to tell like who like if a kid is actually yours.
uh,
Easier to keep the line straight.
yeah, because it kind of comes out of the woman.
Did you ever
Yeah.
what? Did you ever hear
No,
about the South Pacific island that worshipped the spirit of an American World War II soldier?
I think I have. Yeah.
It was
Hmm.
they called it the John Frum cult, but like they Bella.
There was this indigenous tribe that worshipped some British royal, right? Who visited them when he was young, and they were like this is like the first white person they've ever seen. So they're like, we can't, he's gonna come back someday, and it's prophesized. It was the weirdest thing.
This one was actually just like an American GI who visited once in World War II, and every year like they still pay like homage to him. Um,
Hmm.
they
Wow.
they hope that like he'll bring them back like Coca-Cola and like riches.
Oh, that's so cute. The GI's probably dead by now, but
They think that probably he the guy who came was the soldiers would come and say, "Hi, I'm John from New York," or like, "Hi, I'm John from Miami," and so they just changed it to John from over time.
oh my gosh, that's really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's kind of cute. Oh, that's adorable.
And
Hmm.
they say like, "Oh, he promised he'd bring plane loads and shiploads of cargo to us if we pray to him."
That's some American just fucking with people. Fucking asshole. Shit. It's a dick move.
He said he'd bring them radios and ice boxes, like because they don't even know what a
Uh,
fridge is. Uh,
ice boxes.
Medicine, Coca-Cola, and other wonderful things like
Oh, that's funny.
Um,
It's just Dick from like fucking bumfuck nowhere being like, "Oh, yeah, pray to me." There's something similar to Philippines, but it's weird pseudocom Malay Asiatic custom modern
yeah,
imperial
there's
Spanish
about
morals. Oh,
six
like the Muslim
thousand
people.
6,000 people on this one island who are John From cult believers who like celebrate his birthday every year and stuff.
Oh, that's so funny. Well, yeah, that's an interesting societal structure. I can't think of too much else. Yeah, the Mosu really stood out to me because it's like, well, it's a matrilineal society that isn't that isn't a hunter gatherer society, that they have like a structure and they make it work. So I just thought that was cool. And it's in China, and of course the government doesn't like that. The central government doesn't like them. They're trying to like Chineseify them, or Hanify. So like China has a lot of sub ethnicities. So even though they're in China, they're not Han Chinese, and the central government is kind of like ethnic supremacist, that they think that they want everybody to act like Han Chinese.
Even
So
among like technically Chinese people like who are from China.
the people from China aren't all the same ethnicity. It's
Right.
like yeah, like Cantonese Chinese, and then like some like small, like different ethnicity. Like within China, they do this weird thing where they recognize like some 50 ethnic subcultures,
So
but
so it's like Cherokee, Lakota, like Blackfoot. It's like that.
yeah, except they're all, but then like imagine like Cherokee, Lakota, Blackfoot, Kickapoo, but then like the Lakota became the most powerful, and then they run the central government, and they make everybody speak the Lakota language. That's kind of what Han Chinese is. So
Okay.
like Mandarin Chinese, you can also call it Hanyu because it's the Han language, and there are a lot of regional languages that are not Mandarin Chinese at all. Usually they're
And
related or they have a lot of borrowed words, but not, they're not mutually intelligible. And then you
interesting.
have like even ethnicity within China that are not Chinese in any way, like Tibetans and the Mongols, and they still want them to be Han Chinese. So there's that too. And Xinjiang. So I'm not gonna get into
Do
it. You
do we
guys
want to
already
hear
know.
of Rainy Rant? Because we
No,
can, but
let's move on.
but we can move
Let's move on.
on.
The
You hear that, John Cena? You suck.
oh yeah, he's a fucking cuck. But I've gone on that rant before, I think, at some
Yeah,
point.
we don't like John
Han,
Cena on
yes.
this show.
Han, yes, not
Hun
Huns.
or
Han.
Hun. Yeah, they're from different places.
Huns are they're so like Hans and Mongols and Xiongnu are kind of like okay, so like the northern barbarians above China, like they change so much and they're like so tribal. It's generally what's Mongolia now, but Mongolia and Kazakhstan, but there's a lot of like nomadic horse cultures that have shifted so much over the years. But throughout all of dynastic Chinese history, it's just been like sort of a varying those barbarians there that keep on attacking us and breaching our walls. But Hun was, I don't even know where the name is from because that's not what Chinese people call them. We call them Xiongnu, or actually the Qing dynasty was northerners. Manzhou, that was a Manchu dynasty, so that was Han China being taken over by the Manchurians, but it's kind of weird. It's like the
Wait,
Manchurians.
you mean Hun isn't a Chinese word?
Uh
My life is a lie.
Yeah, Han. That's not what we called them. We called them Xiongnu.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, that doesn't sound nearly as fun as to defeat the Huns. It's not nearly as catchy.
Yeah. Well, I mean but it was an English movie, so yeah. Yeah, ancient China has like a bunch of weird names for different countries that kind of just don't sound anything like what they're called now. I can't really think of anything except. Oh, what's interesting is another language fact. Welcome to Renie's channel. So
This is where we learn.
This is where we learn things. Ooh. So a lot of Chinese dialects. So the languages of the minority groups preserve sounds of ancient Chinese better than Mandarin, because Mandarin is based on sort of like the Han language and the Beijing area dialect, and it's sort of like the central government has been in Beijing for recent history, so they force everybody to learn it. But a lot of the regional languages preserved ancient Chinese better, and so like sometimes and then so sometimes I'll like you'll hear what a word is said in a culture like Korea or Japan that has a lot of Chinese loanwords, but those loanwords were loaned from China back in like the Tang Dynasty. Most of you, the Tang Dynasty was the richest and most influential dynasty. That was when China was like the superpower of Asia. It was like there was Tang Dynasty, and then there was Rome, and those are the superpowers. So so it's like Japan is Nippon, right, in Japanese, and in Mandarin is 日本. The characters are still the same, sun origin, but in Mandarin Chinese it's 日本, and Japanese is Nippon, but in Hakka it's Nippon. And so it kind of preserved the ancient sound because the words.
Wait, can you say it again?
In Japanese is Nippon, and in Hakka
That's what I
is
thought you said.
Nippon. Because 日本, the like sun origin, those characters are kanji characters that are loanwords from ancient Chinese. So Hakka preserved the sound more accurately than Mandarin Chinese. That's all. Okay, the end. Let's go back to the show.
You're like, this is boring.
I don't. I just like languages. Okay.
we can do probably like 20 friggin' of these on just languages alone.
Yeah, we should talk about languages again.
Yeah, we should. So what about your societal structures now that I talked for like a billion minutes about just one of mine?
No, that's what we're here for. So with my societal structure, I kind of had like, I feel like it's a pretty simple approach that like to me it didn't really take that much. I kind of got like really deep into weeds at first, and I was like, oh, I'm going to like determine, you know, the way the lineages go, and I'm going to like be like George R. R. Martin and write who like the kings 5 generations ago were, and then like this rules of succession for the chieftains, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute, like none of this is really necessary for my story.
Yeah.
And so what happened was I just kind of gave up on that because I was like, I need to focus on my character arcs, and I have a lot of work to do with just the story arc. I'm making the plots make sense, and you know, it's a mystery story, so it's extra hard, and I have a lot of work to do on the character development. But what happened was the society and then the structure of cultures kind of fell into place as I started working from the plot and from the characters outwards. And like really early on, I was like all about the world building. Then I realized that was like, and they think that's a mistake. A lot of people, especially like coming from, you know, gaming, like you like, I love building things, but the story has to come first. And when you're writing a story, you have to build outwards from like, this is my story and these are my characters, and build what's necessary around them. And after you're done with that, if you want to expand, that's cool. But you have to make sure your story makes sense, because you're telling a story. You're not creating a game for people to create their own characters and play in. So that's what.
And if you just sit there and your world building just constantly, you're like, okay, here's the hierarchy and here's how this works and stuff, and you're making charts, and it's like, it's fun and it's interesting, and the problem is it's time consuming, and while you're doing all that, you're not writing.
Yeah,
it feels like you're writing, but then you sit back and you're like, oh shit, I didn't do anything.
right.
Nothing happened.
It's like you have to learn when to rein yourself back, because there's a certain amount of building things that won't necessarily be seen in a story, but that are important. But then you have to realize when you're going too far and building something that's not important. Because, for example, I built a lot of like, but I didn't get into details. I know that, for example, there are a lot of species other than human. Dev and Ispoliad are like the main species in the land that the story Fiendish takes place in. But there are a lot of other species, but I don't go that much into depth for them, but I have an idea of it. But I reined myself back. I saw myself from like building them because they have their own societal structures. And it's like, okay, I have a general idea. I want there to be kind of like these stone mountain people somewhere. And then I want to have like these other people that are shapeshifters, maybe. But it's more so I'm aware of it, and in my mind as I'm writing, that I know that these, like, the world is a multi-species world. It's not like our world where it's just humans and we have like variations among, you know, one human species. In my world, it's like multiple humanoid species, and some of the sorry, my let me mute my phone. But and some of the and the some of the sentient mortal species aren't, the intelligent species aren't even humanoid. Like I have fish people who are, the fish people definitely do exist. I do like that idea. So they're called, all sentient and intelligent mortal beings are called Simar. So then that's kind of what I call my universe, is Cimarron universe is after Simar. And they call them that because there are so many, there are multiple intelligent mortal species in this world, and they're not all humanoid. So that's like a blanket term for all of them. But anyway, so I've like kind of gone like glossed over, like I know there are these different species generally, and this is their habitats, and I have like a full world map that's not just the map of Arvos, and like the map that you see on my website, where it's the continent of Arvos and the surrounding lands, but I have like a full global map done, and I kind of know also like what the cultures around the whole world are, but it's just a general idea. And I actually did probably spend a little too much time planning that out, but I knew I had to do it because I wasn't, for a while, I wasn't comfortable. I felt like I wasn't comfortable enough in my world, and I was trying to get to the point where I felt like I was living in the world. I wanted to get a feel for the global development level, because I had already established that there's a lot of intertrade in this world. Like, it's a pre-industrial world, but like I think we underestimate how much interconnection the pre-industrial world had. Like there was a lot of there was connections, and like Rome and China knew about each other. And there's this, like, we think that, well, nobody knew about the Americas before Europeans discovered them, but well, the Native Americans came from Polynesia, so people have been sailing all over the globe for like thousands and thousands of years, tens of thousands of years. So there is a lot of connectivity, and like people are aware of the whole globe. So I felt like I needed to put myself in the world and live as these characters who do understand like things on a global scale, and that made me more comfortable when I was like zooming down to the micro level of like these individual characters and writing their point of view, if that makes sense. But as far as societal structure for Arvos, so I did start out with the premise of I wanted to create, and I did this because I don't think I see it a lot, and it's no secret that I'm a fan of like probably like the 800s to 900s area in history, which is like the Tang Dynasty China, and also the Viking Age. I feel like that era in history was really cool, and so I got really into like the Viking Age and Nordic culture for a while, and I wanted to create a continent where the societal structure wasn't like medieval kings, and there wasn't like nobility, and they didn't have courts, and they didn't have palaces and shit. Nothing like that. It was like, if anything, it was kind of like the most you would see was like the Rohirrim in the Lord of the Rings.
Sure.
So think kind of like that, where there is like, on Arvos,
like Jarls.
yeah, and I think I might just call them Jarls as well, because in the south, the southern continent, Discara, they're called Rajas, and or satraps, and in the north they'll call them Jarls. And I feel like that just more like specific to the culture as well, because I'm taking mostly from like Nordic and Slavic culture. I want to do like European based fantasy, but not what most people take from European history. A lot of fantasy is almost all fantasy is like medieval era and very Anglo. And I don't have like anything like that. It's like a weird mix of Nordic and Slavic stuff, and then some shit that I made up in the South. They have these weird swamp people that have like they live in, they are just isolationist weirdos who hate outsiders and they live in swamps. But anyways, and then they have like the northern wildlands, because Arvos is really cold, and I'd established that was like one of the first things I established about my world and the continent I wanted Phoenix to take place in. I don't know why, because I hate the cold, but I really want. It's like I hate the cold, so I'm gonna draw a story that takes place in a really cold place. But I just thought like visually looked really cool, and that was one of the first like images that came to me, was like a hunter, like discovering clues about some sort of monster in these snowy woods. So I established early on that Arvos is cold as shit, and then that led to the whole continent is cold as shit. So like on the global map, you can see the Arctic Circle is much lower than our real world. So like, and winters are long.
Does it make more sense than freaking the Game of Thrones world?
Oh, of course, the Game of Thrones things. I don't even know how the fuck that makes sense. No.
I didn't read it, but just watching the first season, which is the only part I've watched, I was like, how the fuck does winter work on this planet? It was super distracting. I couldn't even pay attention. I was sitting there trying to figure out, like, how does this planet rotate around its sun? Why haven't they figured this out yet?
Like, I've been thinking of this for the longest time, because like I've been reading the Song of Ice and Fire books for years, and like I've been trying to fucking logicalize it. Then I think the only way that would make sense is if the planet is taking place in didn't revolve around a sun, but it's actually a moon of another planet. But then it doesn't make sense, because the planet doesn't give off heat. So
maybe it's on like a
maybe it has a very
it's on a wobble.
Maybe it could be on a very elliptical orbit, but then like it would still have seasons. It would just mean like the winters are extra cold because the elliptical orbit would go out further. So the only way that would make sense is if it was orbiting another planet. It's actually a satellite of a larger planet, and as that planet rotated around the actual star, then the planet where Song of Ice and Fire takes place on will, like, they'll have long cycles of like when it's out here, it's like the winter and it's colder, and then when it's here it's summer. But then like that's not how it's addressed. There's like it's just the sun in the sky. If they were revolving around another planet, we would know that. So I'm thinking about this way too much. And then George R. R. Martin comes out and says, well, it's just magic. And I'm like, I think that was the first time I was like, I think this guy's maybe a fraud. Maybe he's just really derivative, and he's great at writing dialogue and like detail and descriptions, and he's really good at his strong points, but his world building is shit. Deep breaths.
I'm glad I'm not alone.
Oh my god. It was actually really disappointing for me, because I really liked his books, and like I kind of like walked into the Song of Ice and Fire with rose-tinted glasses because I read it before Tolkien. So I was like, this is so expansive and so cool, and I thought there would be more, and I thought there was depth to it. But then I started reading more of his shit, and I saw interviews with him where he just doesn't know shit. He's like, oh, I guess there's like maybe some land over there. I'm like, fucking what? God. So you just want to make a lot of like Lovecraftian references, and you want to deconstruct tropes like Tolkienian, like the whole Baron, and like his like Jon Snow and Ygritte is like a weird mashup of Paul and Chani from Dune and Baron and Luthien, and but then he like makes a twist on it because he wants to subvert everything, and then you realize he's kind of a postmodernist, and he just has this goal. He just wants to subvert what the storytellers before him have done. So, and then you read his world building, you realize he's extremely derivative, and he didn't even think about shit like it's like, look at his fucking map Essos, it's just like a fucking rectangle, and then in the middle it's just like, here be horse lords. I'm like, did you not think more about this? And like, and I hate it so much. And then I realized the word more as time went on that he's, as much as I am invested in the core characters, his world building is shit, and he should have known his weaknesses, and he didn't, and he got way too expansive, and he has no self-control. So he's a gardener, right? He's a gardener cell writer. That means you have no self-control, motherfucker. That's why your books are 3 million pages long and you can't finish them. Okay, all right. I'm not gonna do that, by the way. I'm going to fucking finish my story as long as I still breathe air, and I already know the ending. I've actually been working really hard on writing recently. That's why you guys have seen me disappear off into a hole, and I apologize for that. But I have been doing a lot of work, and a lot of it has been writing. So I worked out like a lot of character arcs. I worked out like a huge battle at the end. I can't tell you about it, but it's gonna be really cool. Sorry, what?
The chat is saying, is this a TED Talk? No, this is Renie Rants. TED Talks is up the hall.
Yeah, welcome to This Happens a Lot.
Welcome to This Happens a Lot.
Yeah, this happens a lot when I stream. Understandable. So we'll be back next week. Right, so I haven't finished talking about my societal structure.
Maromi asked a sun question, and now I don't know where it went.
Oh shit, I'll find it.
2 suns, 1 black hole.
It has to do with the tilt more distance from the sun. Okay. So maybe.
Well, it's just weird because it's like they're like, we never know when winter will happen, and sometimes it lasts for years, and it's like,
right? How? It's like not on a set. If it's scientific, then it would be on a set rhythm, right? It would be.
Tell me how.
Oh my god. I just.
It's almost like, oh, okay, this is just a planet that like is in
makes no fucking sense.
It's in a snow globe, and every once in a while, a kid comes around and shakes it for either 5 or 10 minutes.
It's all Brand's fever dream. I'm calling it now. I'm like trying to logicalize it way too much because I'm like, okay, maybe there's like a very large planet nearby. This planet is not a satellite. The planet that, Westeros is on, a planetos is what people have called it, which I think is a funny name.
Planetos.
But the planetos, yeah, because everything is os. Is like, how creative is it that the Western continent is Westeros and the Eastern continent is Essos and the Southern continent is Sothorios? That's literally yes, creative, right?
I didn't even know that.
Okay. Fucking shoot me. So I'm like, maybe it makes the seasonal shit make sense if there was actually a large planet like Jupiter planet that was fucking with the orbit or the tilt of, I'm taking your point into account, Wolfler, fucking with the tilt of the planet, and it was,
and and maybe it also moves into its shadow too.
Maybe something complicated like that, but then it would still be on like a rhythm, so it still doesn't make sense because they're like,
it's like, how stupid are you guys that you never sat down and thought maybe we should like chart this so that we know when to not die.
It's almost, I know, right? Like, how would they have not charted this before? You have like a citadel of scholars. I don't. Okay.
When on Earth anyway, you have whole societies who could barely, function, but they're sitting up there like freaking counting dots meticulously for generations so that they can
fucking like the Egyptians and I'm really into like pre-Diluvian societies and shit like that, and I think that shit is totally real. But even like, you guys know about the how Göbekli Tepe, I can't pronounce. I think it's Turkish.
Göbekli Tepe.
Yes.
I knew how to say it once.
That thing, and Angkor Wat and all
the ancient aliens place.
No. Well, I don't think it's aliens. That's bullshit. It doesn't. No, it's not aliens. It's just ancient humans.
It's on Ancient Aliens.
Oh, right, Ancient Aliens. Yeah. I think it's so annoying when people like there are all these people, the shows that play up, oh, it's alien shit, and then anybody who talks about pre-diluvian cultures or ancient cultures gets smeared by that brush. And I don't, it's not aliens, it's just ancient people were more aware of the world than we thought. That's not hard to believe. And
It's
they paid
quite
attention
possible.
to the stars, and this, like they knew about the summer equinox, and like they followed long multi-generational phenomenon in the skies, like the precession of the equinox and shit like that. It like, if our own ancient humans could follow that shit, how would people in Westeros not understand why, like, the seasons of their planet, and not keep a record and be able to keep track of like when it, like, so there's just no pattern to the seasons at all.
They were too busy. Well, and how would anything have formed and grown and evolved in any way? Like,
it just makes no sense. It makes no sense. Okay, I'm gonna stop talking about it, but I hate it.
Aviators like Cobeckley TP in a bunghole. Nice.
Thank you.
Martin handwave did his magic. Well, it's dumb. And who was it? Somebody up there said, like, if this is what you're thinking about, the story lost you a long time ago.
Yeah.
That's how it was for me. Well, I didn't read the books, like I said. I just watched the first season because people were like, Allie, you'll really enjoy this. And there were 2.5 characters that I really got into, but they died. And so I was like, not interested anymore.
Well, yeah, because he wants to subvert your expectations and kill off the honorable character. You know, I liked that Ned died, and I liked a lot of the early deaths. I thought that was cool, but I thought, well, cool, that's like the act 2 in a story where the characters suffer a huge defeat, right? But no, and then like 4 fucking books later, it was where we've been expanding into like, whoa, fucking like, not even like crazy dragon queen girl in the book in Essos running a weird like ex-slave city and shit, but like random side, if you've read like the last book, random side characters that I don't care about, but I'm sludging through it because I might miss something that's important to the main plot. And when the fuck are we gonna get back to the main plot and the actual Starks that we care about, and Jon and shit and Arya? No,
that's how I felt while I was watching it. I was like, why am I over here? Yeah, I was like, why am I over here with these people? I want to see what's going on over there, and it won't let me. It was like, can I fast forward? Like,
I don't even know if I would read the new book. Apparently, it's close to being. I don't care anymore.
You overthought it.
There are so many other fantasy books that I need to read. I'm done. I used to be so into A Song of Ice and Fire. Like, I was in like the theory community. I was like pouring through text, putting things together, trying to figure out like, what does Nisa Nisa actually mean? But then as time went on, I just realized it doesn't mean shit. Doesn't mean shit because he doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah, and John is right. Expansion for expansion's sake. And I
feel like that's what he's doing. Yeah.
It sounds like that Renie and I have both taken great pains to avoid doing the expansion for expansion's sake.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's like the number one thing you should not do, especially when writing fantasy. You don't want to expand just because it's fun to expand. Like, focus on your fucking story first. Your story comes first, your characters come first. And the way I think of it, the way I rein myself in is, well, you know, first of all, comics take a long time to draw. And I'm not expecting to live till 99 years old, so I want to be able to finish telling the story. And I don't have like, I want to finish a story ideally within like maybe 20 years at the most, so I can do something else. I don't think it'll take that long, but I'm being ridiculous. But it is like, right now it's 12 books, which is a lot for a comic. Like, these are big, like 70 to 80 page books, right? So that's like, with that amount of work, I want to be able to move on to do something else. And I think like just what I have, really, like, I feel like if you want to expand to like other things, it's almost an admission of your, like, why don't you take all that energy and focus it on what you already have? Like, make what you already have better. So something that I like to I think when I write is commit. So like this is your character, commit completely. Think about every nook and cranny of what this means, what this effect means. So this character has like fire powers, but how are the mechanics of it? What are the limitations of it? What cool unexpected thing can this character do with fire? And what plot points can I tie this into? And how does this ability evolve over time? How does this ability reflect on the character development? What is the character's goals? Tie their powers into their goals and their growth over the story and into their every failure. Oh, doggo. And so like take what you already have and commit, and then you already have a lot of material. And that's more worth focusing your energy on than just expanding more, because like the world should reflect, the world should support your characters. Like it's not, you don't need like this, it's not that you need this dressing and this window dressing. It's like fancy CGI. It's like a movie that has a lot of fancy CGI instead of a good story, you know. That's how I think of it. Right. So
Nope.
so those
Nothing
are
wrong
my
with that.
thoughts. I still haven't talked about my societal structure. Okay, I'm gonna rein it the fuck back.
Bella.
Speaking of reining things back
Bella.
a bit. Okay. So exactly reading these drawings.
Down.
Very detailed and engaging. I try. I feel like we haven't really delved into the weeds of the story of Fiendish yet, but that's how I write. Like I think the first couple of chapters were kind of taking things slow because I don't want to information dump. I want people to get to know the characters first and slowly ease into the world. And but then I promise you, with like chapter 3 onwards, it's like bam, bam, bam. It's very intense. Just I'm not gonna waste a single page.
Do you know
And
how many books it's gonna be?
right now it's 12. I just finished like a new breakdown, so it's 12 books. I think that's a pretty good, pretty concise number for what I need. And the book length will vary quite a bit, but yeah, like right now it's 12 books, right?
Wow.
It's all right, like compared to some manga, you know. I think that's a good length. It's not super long, but it's
How
not
many pages
short.
was number 1?
Number 1 was 50 pages.
So average is gonna be whatever 50 times 12 is.
No, average would probably be around 70.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah. So 70, because book 2 is 70. I could easily do one a year if I didn't have other shit going on. I still have a day job right now, which is the main problem. Remember, I have a day job, guys. But yeah. So yeah, it's totally doable if, you know, this was my main thing. We comic artists learn to draw very fast. Anyways, okay.
Well, I mean, that's going to be, 1,200 pages or more that you're going to just, like, have this freaking shelf of you. Hey! I told you he was like an old gay man.
He is.
Stop it.
John was not 26, but yeah, that was the old breakdown. And I realized that, like, again, I did a complete revamp of the story. Remember, I mentioned like a couple weeks ago that I spent like an entire week in a fucking hole writing, and I wrote like 40 pages in a week. That's what I was doing. I was doing an entire breakdown because I had like all these notes where I wanted to implement onto the story, like some huge changes. It's like I had a bunch of epiphanies about what I could change, but I didn't implement it. And then I just decided, okay, after arc 1, I'm gonna mute you for a bit. Is that okay?
Oh, I thought I was muted. Sorry.
It's okay.
I pressed the thing to mute it. I guess I missed it. Sorry.
Oh, it's fine. He stopped. Yeah, basically I redid the whole breakdown, and it's just much more concise because I realized I could do all this shit in a lot less time. So I'm not even Berserk, I feel like drags on sometimes. I'm just trying to just get to the fucking point. So yeah. It would be nice if, you know, I was able to just be a full-time creator.
How about your societal structure?
Yeah, about societal structure, about that. So thank you, Allie. So my goal was I knew that I wanted to create a society that wasn't lawless, and it wasn't like chieftains, and it weirded me out that a lot of fantasy has either these organized medieval-ish kingdoms or just like fucking barbarians and chieftains, and I wanted to go for something that was in between. Like it's not just either the Roman Empire or the Germanics. It's so in my world you have like the semi-nomadic clan tribes in the, especially like, and I think of the geography as well. So in the northern lands where it's like really, it's like all tundra and is perpetually snowy, that's rather unlikely where a rather unlikely place for large societal structures to arise because people are focused on the survival more. So that's an area where most societal organization is clan based, and also sort of like any wasteland areas like to the east of Arvos, it's more just like clans and some nomads. But oh, hey, Ethan's in the chat. Hi, Ethan.
Hi
Ballers is
there.
so embarrassing. Well, I'm glad you come here to watch us embarrass ourselves instead of ballers. Welcome, everybody. Escaping
What's
ballers.
ballers?
Ballers is Shane and Mandy and PTP, and they do
Oh! I don't know why I thought you were talking about a comic.
No. Ballers is
You're like talking about Berserk, and then all of a sudden I was like, what is that? Oh boy.
Ethan's trapped in there. Oh, he's in Ballers with Shane. Shane doing his annoying fart noise thing. Yeah, he does. It's so annoying. Every time, like, he'll full screen you, and then he has, like, this soundboard with a fart noise, and he'll, like, I'm like, okay, I get it. It was funny the first 2 times.
Well,
so yeah.
We all have our hobbies.
We all have our hobbies, and Shane's is farting. Well, everybody, yeah, Ethan and everyone else, welcome. We're talking about world building, so hopefully it's more interesting than Ballers and slightly more intelligent than making fart noises. So welcome. Right. So about societal structure on Arvo. So like most of the continent is, it's like it is like chieftain structure and a lot of city states. So if you look on, I don't know if I should pull up everybody like has my map, right? Should I pull it up? I should pull it up, because why not? I should have thought about this earlier.
I like how EVS came in and he's like, hey, Eric July's over here on Shane's thing with me. Like, I see you fishing. I see you fishing.
Why would he be fishing from my channel? Like my tiny little channel.
I don't know. That's a good question.
Damn. Is that what Ethan is doing? So sad. I trust that's not what he's doing. I think he's just suffering. He truly just needs an escape right now. Okay. Let me actually pull up my fucking map so people can see it. So
how related to your map and stuff is your societal structure, do you think? Like, is it maybe I should rephrase. Is it integral, I guess, how you set it up?
Well, I think if you're designing a society, like culture and society is not really separatable from geography. So it's integral. I feel like that's sort of an obvious thing, but maybe some like people who start out building worlds don't think about that, but it is something to think about, because how would the geography affect a society? Like, geography is very important. It affects everything. Like, a mountain society will work differently than a society that has access to rivers or has access to a major ocean. And that means trade routes. That means resources. And if they're in the mountains, what kind of resources do they have? Do they have Do they have ore? How much arable land do they have? That affects everything about a society, and that affects
Yep.
stability. That affects survivability, and in only in very only in locations where there people can create a surplus would they be able to focus on, let's form larger societal structures like kingdoms and larger organizations. So that's why in Arvos, see the northern part where it's just all snowy shit over here, this is just mostly like chieftains. It's kind of like Siberia. This is like my fantasy somewhat Siberia area. And over here as well, it's not very arable land. It's all somewhat wasteland-ish. And down here is like a marshy weird area of like strange isolationists and marsh people. And like, so they have an abundance of resources because there's a lot of water and the climate is warmer, but because the geography is so hard to travel in, it's just all marshes and like soggy shit and stuff. They still don't.
That sounds like parts of my world.
I was actually going to tell you that I feel like if your world were transplanted onto mine, it would be right here. So yeah, and it's very isolationist, and like they don't see a lot of outsiders, and they're weirdos. So because of the geography as well, they're self sufficient, and they don't have a lot, but they don't have a lot of they don't have like a kingdom structure. These are all city states or small settlements within this marshy landscape. So Erisek, this title over here, this is only like proper kingdom on the whole continent, and it's still mostly just Ariza is the capital, and there are a few cities that are properly part of this kingdom or kraldom. They would be called krals, but then the surrounding cities like Lachia or Ravs or even Alstad in the north or Visca are their tribute city states. Like most of these cities that you see here are just independent settlements, chieftains, or like towns and city states. And Erisek is this like very loosely organized, somewhat kraldom in the bottom center of Arvos. So I think that I felt like that gave
I
me.
like the giant's eye thing. That's cool.
Oh yeah. There's a giant's eye and then there's a giant's tear. I thought that would be a cool thing.
Look at that.
Yeah, there's like a smaller lake down there. So like
That's
Greek
cool.
city states. Yeah. I just felt like because that's a fairly common organization in human history. You know, it's not like the idea of. I want to break a lot of things that people expect from seeing fantasy, and I think a lot of fantasy is too focused. It comes from a modern understanding of the world, and the idea of countries itself is a very modern understanding of the world. So I've been researching like ancient ways of timekeeping, even, and ancient ways of keeping track of the seasons. Like the seasons are different, timekeeping is different in this world, and like the way people, different cultures, especially in antiquity, did things were completely different. They thought about the world differently. So I want to create a fantasy in the sense of not just is this a fantasy world, but it isn't anything that you would expect to see. Like it makes sense, but it's not something that we are used to. Like people don't really think about countries in the same way that we do. They don't have hard borders because in our modern world, countries are, it's like there are hard borders. Almost every inch of the whole planet has been established and there are countries, but in this world it's not. The borders are soft and they fluctuate a lot, and it's more established on, well, which there's a powerful city state, and then there are all these other city states that pledge allegiance to it and in return for protection, but it shifts all the time. So I feel like that gave me a lot of flexibility with like that created the world that I wanted. I felt like further the story because there was I wanted my characters to have a lot of mobility within this society. I wanted to feel like this is like a living, breathing society that had organization, but at the same time there was a lot of independence. Like my characters, like every city is independent and they make their own laws, and there's not like some central power that everybody answers to necessarily. And I feel like that gave, like, the only central power is more so Malkenka, which is, it's kind of like the old town of my continent, of my world. That's how I tell people, but it's still different. So Malkenka, the city up here in the mountains, it's really cool. It's like this citadel at the top of like a really tall mountain, and it's an ancient citadel built by the Ispolin, and it's the shamanic center of the continent. So it's like the knowledge center. It's sort of like the shamanic university is where the shaman's order is based out of. And shamans they're magic users, but they're also knowledge keepers. They're the clerics, and they're the advisors for the whole continent, kind of like maesters, but with real magic. So this is like the center of knowledge and culture, and Malkenka is like the one stable cultural center. And even though right now Erisa and Erisek, this Kraldom, is powerful, that shifts. That's not always the case. You don't always have like a powerful Kraldom on this continent. So Malkenka is the one really stable, independent thing that people look to for guidance here. So yeah, that's how I generally structured it. And beyond that, so we do at one point, I guess, kind of spoilery, but it's not, I can tell people this. We do run into the quote unquote royal line of Erisek, and the characters do meet them, but it's not a sort of huge power differential where in sort of medieval times, like, the rulers are seen as god. It's more like in Viking times, where the chieftain is like the most capable person. It's not necessarily hereditary, even though in Erisek currently it is hereditary. But if the hereditary choice, like the oldest son, or is like a complete failure, then it would no longer be hereditary. Like, you would have the different crawls from the surrounding city was like pick somebody else as a leader. So it's not like the rulership isn't elevated above the common man as much as in like medieval times. So I liked that sort of like evening out structure, where there really isn't, it's like kind of a slightly libertarian fantasy world. There, I said it. Okay. Spoiler alert. Sorry. Sounds like the cities were like individual fragments of fallen and broken empires, or like Europe after the fall of Rome. Sort of, but it is kind of like that. And I have said this before. So there was, but it wasn't like Rome. I do have like an ancient culture, and it was called the Empire of Vyra. And Vyra was the country that was established by the Ispolin. And the Ispolin were the higher human race that came to every continent and taught common humans magic and governance and, language and all this other shit. And they kind of like came to every continent, taught people all about some really cool shit, and then they just left. And nobody knows where they went to, but they left a lot of like mixed descendants, and that's what the Ispoliad are, like the green and blue haired people. That's what Ragna is. And they're not the same as like common humans, on the continent. They look different. They have like darker skin. They have better magic. So they're like a subrace of humans. And on Argos, that country was Vyra, but it wasn't like a Rome superpower. It was more like it was one very powerful city state that the Ispolin established. So, but it wasn't, it was just one city state. It didn't unify the whole continent. It was like the rest of the continent was still like just wandering nomadic clans, There's a reason I established the landscape like this as well. It just made sense because, like I said, this continent is harsh. It's supposed to be this really cold place where life is hard, and it just seems it's less likely for people to establish large-scale governance, and at least especially in a pre-industrial world. So sort of like a lot of the things that held back pre-industrial societies, like like child mortality and stuff, that's not as much of a problem in this world because they do have magic. But at the end of the day, when you're procuring large-scale resources to run a country, well, the landscape and your resources that you have from the land will matter. So those things would realistically affect the societal organization of my people. There you go. Okay,
apparently you have a member chat from Lieutenant Hughes.
Oh, okay. I'll look. Thank you.
Thank you. Who said that? Somebody said it. John said it.
I see it. Okay, Lieutenant Hughes.
Keeping us on our toes.
Yeah, they chat knows that I can't see member chats from StreamYard, so thank you. Lieutenant Hughes says, "Nice hat you got there, Renie," and then double fish fuck. Thank you, Lieutenant Hughes, member for 7 months. Thank you so much. And
Aviator's saying that Aviator's asking if you have a southern hemisphere. She does. She just zoomed in on the northern.
Yeah. Let's see. I actually have a full world map, but I don't know if I should show it yet. I'm not going to show it. It's the secret. But I do have a full world map. To give you guys an idea of how big this is, I mean, I have the travel distances planned out because I realized I needed to plan this out if I was going to have.
Oh my gosh, I ended up having to do the same thing too.
It's important because I need to know how long it takes people to travel everywhere. I'm not going to have people just fucking teleport everywhere like the fucking Lord of the Rings show. It's so stupid. Just this is even like the end of Game of Thrones. Just distance doesn't matter. People just teleport. I hate it. I hate it. That's bad writing. Okay, so I have all this shit planned out. So Arvos, the width of Arvos is about like a couple 100 miles shorter than the continental United States. So it's probably top to bottom because it's narrower than it's tall.
Funny. So Demon Eye said that after listening to this, Fiendish is destined to be a novel series, and then when I talk about Rotting Crown, people are like, "Allie, you should make it a comic." What do you want from us?
What do you want? No, I'm making this a comic. Like, I swear, this is designed to be a comic. Well, I'm glad you said that though, Demon Eyes, because my goal was to create a comic in a way that I don't see a lot of people approaching comics. I think a lot of people, when they approach comics, they almost approach it in a non-committal way, and it really frustrates me because why don't you have more people approaching comics with deep world building and treating it like literature? Because comics are a form of literature, so I'm going to fucking treat it like literature. But this is designed to be a comic. I do take this seriously. I don't care if people are like funny books. Not you guys, but there are other people who think that way. And like, I don't care. Like, to me, this is literature. Like, I've seen how great comics can be. And I want to take the great things I've seen in comics and combine it with the great literature that, like, the classics that I love, that I grew up reading, and high fantasy, and makes my own interpretation. Like, this is what I think the best of comics should be, to the best of my ability. And that's what I want to create. So when you read the story, you'll realize that it's very much designed to be a comic. It could work as prose, but I don't think it would work as well because a lot of things are so visual.
It is like super visual.
Right. Like, and Allie knows this. With the way I design my magic system, it's very visual. Like they're casting the runes, and like they don't like say anything even. It's like you can tell what kind of runes they cast by just looking at like the symbols and stuff. And then with like, I've planted a lot of things with like the visual language, like these motifs that repeat throughout the story. And there's a lot of action as well. I made sure there's a lot of action throughout the series, and that's just not going to be quite as fun if it's a prose novel. It would work because
because you have a lot of
story
material.
Threads. Yeah, I have story threads going, behind like the action. There's like character development, and I have world building, and there are a lot of like, multiple layers of plot. But at the end of the day, this is designed to be a comic. So I'm going to fucking show people that comics it's not light entertainment. It doesn't have to be simple. It doesn't have to be surface level. You can do deep world building and high fantasy with comics. It's like, I think Conan did something similar, but I want to take that and do even more.
Alex Verb said that Fiendish and Rotting Crown would both make good anime, so it's settled now. Okay.
Oh, thank you. That's all I wanted to hear.
But John wants Broadway adaptations.
Broadway adaptations. Well,
Oof.
if you want to do one, maybe. I don't know. I'm never gonna go there. I don't even want to. Handhold. I'm like gonna be very careful about handing anybody my creations because
Oh my gosh, for real. It's not even a thing that's like occurred, but I literally have like nightmares about someone like getting a hold of my book and somehow like purchasing it and being like, all right, time to mangle it with a movie. And then like everyone hating me. And me being like, I had no creative control.
I know. Just seeing even though George R. R. Martin has way fallen off the shelf for me, just seeing how they butchered his work was still disappointing because it was not that bad. Like, he's a good writer. He's just not a good world builder. And
Snafu said Fiendish on Ice. That actually would be cool.
Was that a reference to an anime? It is.
No.
It is.
I don't think it is. I think it's just straight up ice skating.
Yuri on Ice is a ice skating anime.
Oh, it is? Oh, sorry.
Yeah. It's actually really good.
I didn't know that. I've seen Disney on Ice a few times. That's why I was like, oh, that'd be cool.
Maybe that's what my first thought was. The anime that was like this mushy romantic ice skating anime that was actually not bad. I swear it was not bad. But yeah, you're probably thinking about it's probably a reference to Disney on Ice. Yeah, man, I would be super careful about giving anybody my IP, you know. And if I do,
it would have to be like I have full approval for everything.
Absolutely. Always. I would have complete approval, and I would be like J.K. Rowling, and that's why they hate her so much, because she has control over everything, and they can't shake it because she was very careful about those rights, and that's why I feel like I probably would just never sell, because there was no production company that would be happy with my terms. Like, my terms would be like, y'all can be my bitches, I'm not going to be your bitch. So yeah. They're going to be like, oh no, we want to control you. I'm like, sorry, that's not going to happen, motherfuckers.
I don't need your money.
No, I'm fine. I actually care about what I'm doing. It's the Arctic runs out. Irene's first woman to create a comic. Yeah, Jennifer Lawrence was talking about, what comics, and that's what she probably would hate me. I would hate her too, so it's fine. Lieutenant Hughes for 2. Thank you, Lieutenant Hughes. She's like, best Renie.
She's like made of soggy, like her brain is made of soggy cardboard. I'm almost positive. Like,
I'm shocked anyone can be that stupid.
It's just mush in there.
But not that shocked.
Brown mush.
The stupidity is absolutely unbelievably it's just shocking.
Never let anyone in Hollywood touch your IP. It's where creations go to die. Exactly. Do you know at this point, the closest that I would let it get right now is Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, I think so. Like,
that somebody that
has been proven to be a resolute artist.
Yeah, because even his movies that like don't do well are still fucking beautiful.
Yeah,
and it stays really true to the artistry. So I think probably, unless there's some unknown like film guru out there making stuff that I don't know about, Guillermo del Toro is the closest we have right now to somebody who gives a shit about film in any way.
I don't think I'd ever want Fiendish to be live action. I don't think it would work. In my mind, I see it as an anime.
If they tried to do it live action, they would just throw a bunch of CGI at it and it would look like poop.
Yeah. Like, it would just be incongruent, right? There's too much CGI to do. I have like so many weird races and stuff. It's just better to animate it.
Imagine how soul crushing it would be to go onto a sound stage and have like the people dressed up like your characters in a big green room.
Yeah.
And then be like, so imagine your map out there, and you just go, I hate life. Like, why can't this look like Legend? Why can't this look like the Dark Crystal? Like, that's what I want it to look like. Do that, and I'll consider it.
The only situation where I would be alright with like fucking them creating shit in a green room was if it's full CGI. It's not like they're transplanting, they're not green screening the actors onto CGI, but it's
So if it's
mocap.
just straight animation, basically,
Straight
yeah,
animation. So like I could see like video game animation. It's like very realistic, but because it's all animated, it all fits together. And with like how good video game animations, I want to see like a full movie made that way, but it's mocap and it's actors actually acting it out, and it looks like it's realistic models.
They do that with Avatar.
Not Avatar, fucking something like God of War or
Final Fantasy.
No.
The Spirits Within. No.
Let's move on.
How do you know
that why are you doing
this to me? You didn't like that?
I'm sorry. Did I just make that sound?
I don't know what that sound was, but you did it. It happened.
It was a sound of pure pain. Came
Fiendish
from my soul.
as the live-action puppets of Fraggle Rock. I wouldn't hate that. I freaking love Fraggle Rock.
Chat, why is this happening? Dragon of Sky. Skyrim probably, yeah.
Oh, please, not Spirits Within. So, Mark, that's why I mentioned Spirits Within. I did that on purpose. Come on.
I know, she was obviously trying to trigger me at work.
I know.
Skyrim,
I know where it is.
Like, it's like the new, like the Santa Monica stuff, like The Last of Us, not the newest. I mean, it still looked good. It looks like really realistic. Just the story was fucking stupid.
Are you an ice skater?
No.
Oh.
I don't know why people think that.
Are they confusing you for
Not all Asians look alike, guys.
I was gonna say they don't look alike, you guys.
It sounds like there was like some famous Asian ice skaters. No,
I couldn't remember names. I was like, are they confusing her for her? Because I feel like that chick's like 20 years older.
I think some Michelle chick or something. Yeah, what the fuck was I talking
Michelle
about?
Kwan. Michelle Kwan.
Michelle Kwan, yeah. And what was that other game that Hellblade also. There's a lot of video games. I mean, all video games are like super realistic. So I want like a if they made a TV series, I think it would totally work because that's what they do for like the full gameplay is like, like 80 hours long. So if they could make it like a TV series, because Fiendish would have to be a TV series, it would not be a movie or just anime, like fucking. If I could somehow get Japan to make it, because I trust them way more than any American production company, at least right now. I mean, hopefully this shit will fade in a few years, but just in case it doesn't, I'm like, I'm even regardless, you want to be careful with your IP. I've seen so many IPs get ruined by just untalented people. It's not even woke ideology in Hollywood as it is right now. It's just you want to be careful about who you hand your baby off to.
Yeah, and that feeling that I had when I'm watching Sandman, and I'm watching. Well, I didn't watch all of the Rings of Power, but like the feeling I have every time I watch one of those things and it's ruined. I don't want anyone who likes my stuff to ever feel that way.
Yeah. Yeah, like to me it's not like it still reflects on me, right? I know it's sort of one of those things where
it's like, way to go, sell out. Like, you didn't give a fuck about your IP, did you?
I know, that's how this is another reason why I'm so pissed at George R. R. Martin. I know he tried to be careful and he thought he picked the right people with D&D, but at the end of the day, well, you weren't careful to make sure you had complete approval over the script, and you're a fucking television writer. You weren't careful to say that I have to be involved in every single script and I could just axe the show if it went south. And you didn't care enough about it. It was just a paycheck for you. It made me really disappointed in him, even though the book still exists. But at the end of the day, the TV show still reflects on the original work, especially if it's it doesn't so the Rings of Power doesn't reflect bad on Tolkien. That's not his fault. Obviously, it's not Christopher Tolkien's fault. They waited until Christopher Tolkien was dead to fucking do that shit. But George R. R. Martin is still around. He had full power to make sure that this didn't happen to his IP.
Tolkien would be stabbing people.
He's rolling in his grave.
Same with Anne Rice too. I cannot believe that the show that was recently made is something that she approved of. I just can't. That's a whole other thing. Demonize, yeah. Gaiman did attack all of his real fans, calling them non-fans. He called me personally racist on Twitter. That was a fun day.
That's fun.
Like
Guyman's lost his
I'm
goddamn
sitting
mind.
there, and a bunch of his new fans, were like, "Oh, you probably have never read the books." I'm like, "Yo, he signed my arm. I got it
Oh my
tattooed."
god.
Like,
And like
but I'm not a fan. Like, I'm not a real fan. Like, fuck me, I guess.
I know I was having this debate with somebody where, they were saying that, well, you have to like I think what they're thinking is, besides when they treat their politics like a religion, really, that's obvious. But there's this like weird idea, well, we have to do away with the old and like we have to cater to the new fans. But well,
There are no new fans.
yeah, they're what they don't realize is what they think are what the new fans want or what the younger generation wants. It's not actually, that's not the case. It's being framed that way, but I don't think what the younger generation wants is any that different than what people previously wanted. Like I think, people who are actually fans of Tolkien or of Gaiman, and even if they're like fucking 15, they want what we want. Like, politics aside, that doesn't actually matter when it comes to good stories. They want a faithful adaptation as the original work was, and that's what any real fan would want. But there are a lot of activists that frame themselves as, well, we're speaking for a new generation, so everything has to be modernized. Oh no, what they're doing is this is a cultural revolution. And in a much softer terms, I know I'm not like being a catastrophist here, but it is in a soft way rewriting established IPs to fit a new ideology, and they're portraying this as this is a good thing. It's just updating it for like our evolved morality, but not really, because these things are not that outdated. They still work today, and all we want is a faithful adaptation. But they're not seeing that. I think it's starting to turn around, but it's going to be really slow. We have to wait for all these companies to lose money, because just yelling at them on Twitter doesn't work.
In the meantime, we've created, this alternative, entire economy and everything over here, a different societal structure, if you will, where we're just gonna move ahead. We're like, fine, we'll make our own thing then. Like,
That's true. That's true. And I think that's fucking awesome. We're doing it. Lieutenant Houston too. Thank you. I heard you were a state champ ice skater. I didn't read that. I just want to make sure I read it.
that's
Thanks.
why I was asking, because I was like,
Yeah.
were you really? Like,
I'm
what
not.
were you not good at? Like,
I didn't even know. I can't. If you okay, I cannot ice skate. If you stick a couple blades on my feet and put me on ice, I'm just gonna fall on my face, and it's happened before. So I have terrible coordination. I am good at everything that is sitting in front of a computer and doing shit right here, and anything I can't do it. I can swim. I'm a good swimmer. That's the only sport I'm good at. Hutzel, hi, what's up, buddy? Yo.
you were pretty good with the kids.
Oh, thanks.
They're
I guess that's another skill.
they all dug you.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I got to
definitely
speak to some Girl Scouts. That was so cute.
Yes, you have tiny
Yay.
fans.
Yay! I'm so happy. Now I'm suddenly conscious of the fact that most of my work is not very kid friendly, but they're not that little. They're like,
It was 11 through 13.
Yeah, that's not. I think it was. It's not like I'm not used to talking to kids. A lot of like I have when my best friend's kid is 13 as well, so I'm actually pretty used to interacting with kids. But
Renie is good at wearing hats, says Jay Ryan.
Thank you. I'm going to at least add one more skill, so I can
Comic
swim,
Skate
I can
Comic Skate is a hat group, as
we are
everyone
hat
knows.
group. We are hat group.
We're not a milkshake group. We are a hat group.
Oh, your tiny milkshake. That's adorable.
We're not a milkshake group.
We're not a milkshake group.
These are for my little Ethot dolls, by the way. I got a whole bunch of them.
Oh, adorable.
So
I'm bad at sports, but I'm good with kids. I don't care if that's stereotypical. There are plenty of things about me that are not stereotypically girly. I don't care if I conform in some ways. It's just
Renie's just rainy, weirdos. Stop it.
Yeah, gosh, guys, stop putting me in a box, everybody.
She's gonna start having like PTSD attacks from being at Marvel.
Yeah, the milkshake is triggering for me. Oh yeah, and I don't think I've shown this on my channel. I revamped the map a little bit because I thought I thought I could make the landscapes more distinctive, and I have sort of an idea that in ancient history, the continents were shaped by some really big meteor impacts. So, but also beyond that, I
But also
think
magic.
there is some magic. It's not so like with my magic, it's pretty like everything is kind of explained, but you're gonna find out later on that it's not directly said, but with a lot of the natural structure, like the geographical structure is not natural because it is like a magical-ish effect. Like maybe the inner sea, I'm not quite sure yet, but I have built in a lot of possibilities. I want to hint at some of these formations in the land to have been caused by an event that happened thousands of years ago, and it wasn't like a meteor impact, it was like a pseudo magical event. So there's that. But if you look at
are these mountains on this like crossing still in this deserty, more deserty area? What
what
is that
here,
called? Is it red or bad?
what Redlands,
Yeah, okay. Sorry.
Redlands,
Are those mountains?
they're more like rocky. They're not mountain, they're more like rocky hills.
So, but it's still like even though this is the only land bridge, it's still difficult to cross it.
Yes, yes, that was the point.
I like how you did that because a lot of times it's like we can go to the land bridge and then you just like walk across it and it's like, yay, we did it. You made that
Cool.
also difficult.
I'm glad. Yeah. Well, another thing is with even ancient cultures, the ocean wasn't always a barrier because as long as there's land within like a few hundred miles, most cultures, even with pre-medieval technology, they could just sail to all over the place. So there is a lot of trade between Arvos, the northern continent, and Discar in the south, but it's separated enough to be distinct. So I wanted to make sure that they know a lot about each other, but it's still like it's like the Middle East, and then like like the Scandinavian and Slavic regions of Europe. That's sort of how I divide it. Even though Discar is also like a little bit Indian, kind of like my fantasy version of that. Oh, I guess if we're talking about societal structures, so the most advanced civilization in my world is actually it's off the map, but you can see a little bit of the continent, Taya. This continent over here is gigantic, but it doesn't just extend this way. It kind of arcs downward all the way into the southern continent. So the land masses are actually pretty like evenly distributed across the northern and southern hemisphere. Taya is like a gigantic curved continent, and on it, the most advanced civilization is like this weird amalgamation of like my fantasy China and fantasy Japan, but with more like weird non-human races and shit. And they're because I really like the Tang Dynasty, so it's like that, but merged with Heian era Japan as well. And I don't know if I'll do anything with that, but I thought I'd mention it because people do say it in the story, like they're aware that technology from Huaxia, which is that empire, is like the most advanced technology in the planet right now.
Hold on. So Demonized is asking what I need to do, and I'm gonna have to go, but
Okay.
Demonized is asking where to get my book. So Wildman is my first book, and that actually I'm not making any more of in paperback, but I do have a place where you can buy the ebook. I'm gonna put that on there just really quick. As far as the other stuff, the other books like this one, I'll just throw the links for both of my Wattpads into the chat right now. Sorry, I didn't mean to derail it. It's just I'm gonna have to go in a minute because I'm starving.
No, it's fine. I'll wrap it up as well. I feel like I can't talk tonight. Sorry, guys. I'm actually really hungry too. So,
yes, I
will
can link here.
finish chatting with chat.
I did link. I have a wrench. I linked. What are you talking about?
Oh, is John saying that he can't link you? Did I not mod you, John? Sorry, John.
Well, I was.
How dare I?
So
I am
the Rotting Crown is the book I'm talking about when I'm on this show.
John, you're modded.
And Wildman is my first book. Well, I have a poetry book, but nobody cares about poetry. And then I have a whole bunch of other books that are being written over elsewhere, but Rotting Crown and Egg Beater and Haunting of Bonneville Manor, which is my kids' book, are the ones that are going on right now. Oh, so some person shared that. Okay. There we go. Hey, Boob Dan just got here.
Hey, Boob Dan.
Welcome, Boob Dan.
Welcome, Boob Dan. You're just
Not here to fish for viewers. I need to add my author store to my link tree. I know. Sorry.
Doggo. Allie, excuse you.
I know. Well, I have like two authors. Anyway, whatever. Yeah, so, oh, Demonized likes poetry. Hart Fisher was on my channel the other night. Cool. He's a much better poet than I am.
Oh, right. I forgot. I got to dig your brain about poetry because I suck at it.
I feel like I've just
never learned.
Did write a poem for Will and Frege for their book, for their comic. I don't know when it's coming out. You'd have to ask Frege, but I'm going to have a minor credit in there. That's a little song that Will had me write.
Cool. I might have you write something for Fiendish eventually too.
Really?
I'd rather hire someone that knows what the fuck they're doing.
Wow.
There's a couple of things. I have like a rudimentary draft. I'll give it to you, but it's like you gotta just totally change it because mine sucks. But you'll get the idea of what I want. Like there's some like cultural songs that I want people to be able to reference.
Oh, that would be fun. I love doing that.
I think you'd like it too. It's like a death song, like a funeral song.
Nice.
That's the main thing because there's like the one that I have now is I have a few ideas, but the main one is like I got the idea from the that one line in the Havamal that's really famous. That I'm gonna butcher the Old Norse, but the Doyer fe, Doyer frende, Doyer sama. Like friends die, cattle die, but your reputation. One thing that doesn't die is your reputation. Like that whole that thing, that really famous line. Yep. And I want to have something from similar in my world. Havamal, yeah. And but I want like a full poem that describes sort of what the cultural view on Arvos is about the goal of life and what happens after death and what the gods are looking for. So we'll talk about that. I think that would be really
how about we talk about that next time?
Yeah. Wait, sweet. What specifically?
I don't know, poems and songs and stuff.
Well, I don't have anything because I
world building.
You can talk about it.
We can talk about. I don't know. We could do a dual one where we talk about character, and when we run out of that, we can talk about that. We'll figure it out. Thank you, John.
Yeah. Yeah. What we should talk about next time? I think it would be too spoilery for me to talk about my character arcs right now.
Well, not character arcs, but like character building, maybe.
Character building. Yeah.
Because it's like
even that would be a little
aspects of their personality aren't necessarily
yeah, okay, we can talk about
because you have character profiles and all that stuff. We can talk about how to build it without giving stuff away.
Yeah, I can talk about personality without spoilers. That's definitely doable.
Exactly.
Yeah. Drinking songs. That would be cool. You should write a drinking song for me.
Okay.
Drinking songs. I do want that death song because it's like I want people to sing it at funerals and stuff. And like there's a cool thing where at the end you can like customize it to the person who's dying when you sing it. So anyways, cool. Yeah.
You can't write drinking songs sober? Like well, I do know how to drink, but I think I can write. I'm pretty confident I can write anything. So.
Damn. I believe in you too.
Renie, you need food. Allie needs food too.
I do. I'm really hungry, guys.
Thank you everybody for hanging out. We get
Me hungry.
off topic, but it's because we care so much.
Oh my god. Yeah. Thank you, everybody. You guys are awesome.
Maybe
Can you
someday
tell? Can you tell that
we'll
I'm
talk about Aviator's question too, about our favorite actors that we would want to play stuff. But that would take much longer. So thank you everybody.
Maromi, thank you for that fucking. I've tried to pronounce Old Norse. It's so hard to pronounce, even though I've heard this in a Wardruna song like a million times. I'm not gonna try because this is really hard to pronounce. But yes, that's the line. Thank you. Yeah. Hold on. What are we talking about again next time? Are we doing character creation?
Well, we have some options. We'll figure it out over the next 2 weeks.
Follow
the next
both
one
of us
will be on my channel
Twitter.
On well, the 23rd is 2 days before Christmas. I don't know what you have going on. I can do it, but
I'm not doing anything.
Okay.
I'm working.
So
I'll be drawing pages.
So the next show will be on my channel on December 23rd.
No life. See us on the 23rd.
This is our life.
Yay! This is our life. I spend my whole day in front of the computer right here. Okay, so see you guys in 2 weeks on Allie's channel. Follow both of us on the twits that's in the description for more news about that. And thank you for joining us.
Good night, everybody.
Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.
I will not do any kisses. I refuse.
Ah! I don't know what that is. I don't mind doing kisses.